Have you ever wondered what it takes to successfully raise money? I have worked with hundreds of capital campaigns across dozens of industries, and I'm here to share with you proven methods for raising money in record time and at the lowest cost, while also obtaining capital at the lowest price. My name is Carl Dakin, and welcome to Motivated Money. This is Carl Dakin with Motivated Money. I'm here today to talk to you about raising capital, typically trying to work with different entrepreneurs, small businesses, and growth businesses on how to find the right investors as quickly and as inexpensively as possible. So today, instead of having a guest, as I usually do, the publication crew at the Lucky Titan suggested that occasionally I take a break from interviewing entrepreneurs about their capital campaigns, and instead I drill down and provide a little more detail on some of the key aspects of the motivated money approach to raising capital. So today, it's all me. I'm going to be talking about stakeholders, and we're going to dive into that in order to give you a better understanding. And then as you're listening to podcasts in the future, or maybe you're listening to some of my podcasts for the first time, you'll have a better understanding of one of the key components to why the motivated money approach to raising capital has such superior results over the way that people commonly raise money. So, the first thing that we get into when people talk to me about a capital campaign, almost always is, I don't know who to go to get money for my business. And by telling me that, it shows to me that this is a person who may not have raised money in the past, or they're in a new venture that has put them into a new marketplace, and all of their existing contacts don't seem to be the right people to talk to about raising money. But it also indicates to me that, unfortunately, like most entrepreneurs, when they go to raise capital, everything they learned about marketing and sales and so forth seems to have gotten tossed out the window. And as a consequence of that, the person is confused. The entrepreneur is saying, I just don't know who to talk to. There's all these people that I want to raise money, but I don't think they're going to give it to me. And I have to agree with them. They're right. Pretty much everybody they are going to talk to is not going to provide them the resources they need to build and grow their businesses. So we want to take this on. And so with 40 plus years of experience in raising capital for hundreds of different businesses and community projects and charitable organizations and so forth, I attacked this issue. I studied it. I beat up on it. I tried new things, experimented with things that failed, it didn't work. And what became obvious to me that there is no way to go into the market using common approaches and have any great expectation of success. That what the problem is that when you're saying who is an investor candidate, you have to ask the first question: why? Why would they put their resources with you? Why would they put them at risk? Why would they ever give the money to you instead of giving it to someone else? And you then start drilling down. You go, okay, what's their motivation for making an investment? And unfortunately, you will find that most investors, particularly angel investors, they are not trained up in making investments. They may have the money, but they didn't take a course. They have no educational degree. They might have run their own business, which is the source of the capital they're looking to invest. But that doesn't necessarily make them a professional investor, somebody who truly understands what they're trying to do, how they're trying to put their money to work, and most importantly of all, what criteria would they use in picking one investment opportunity over another. So, and looking at that and working on that, you get to a point where you're saying, I can't take the time to talk to everybody. I can't stop everybody on the street and say, are you an investor? Do you have money? Will you invest in me? Because life is too short. Your business needs your attention. And so you're trying to figure out how can we do this quicker, better, faster. And in doing that, uh, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, somebody who's running an organization or a project, you have a very, very limited amount of time. You cannot be out there every day pitching for money and not paying attention to your business. You've got too many things already on your plate that all need your attention. And raising capital has and is a distraction from operating your business. And I have unfortunately worked with too many entrepreneurs who forgot this fact, who got so caught up in raising money, who unfortunately managed their companies to a point where they were desperate for new funding to come on board. And they went out hunting capital and they devoted more and more of their time, more and more of their money. And they essentially reached a point where nobody wanted to invest in them. They were considered unattractive. They were not going to get the money they needed, and these companies failed. They ran out of capital. They weren't selling their products or services. The way in which they're going about raising capital, as they call it, shopping a deal too often on the street, is a phrase that means that they're trying to sell something that nobody wants. And the longer that you're out there raising capital, the more it looks like maybe you don't really understand your business, or you don't understand the investment community. And that loses you credibility and decreases the likelihood that you're going to be successful in your capital campaign. So when I looked at this problem and kept trying to figure out, well, what's the magic solution? Is there a magic solution that could potentially help all entrepreneurs raise capital, not just a particular set or those looking for a particular type of capital or engaging in a different type of capital campaign? And as I focused on this, in talking with different people and seeing my own success when it occurred, or those entrepreneurs I was working with, I started to see a pattern rise out of this. And it's a very simple thing. You're saying, well, who cares about your company? Well, if you are a common investor, you're looking at a business for a single benefit that you're going to get out of your investment, and that's in the form of a return on your investment. Yeah, that's okay. That's acceptable if you're looking for an investment. But from the standpoint of being a shopper, of being someone who says, "Well, now that I'm ready to put my money to work, I want to make an investment. What opportunities are out there for me to look at?" And suddenly you'll get all these different opportunities of different businesses of different sizes and shapes and markets and maturity. They're all looking for money. And when they offer you money for your money, which is typically stated as a rate of return, like I'm going to make you 10% per year rate of return, or I'm going to double your money every year for the next 5 years, which is the stated objective of a lot of angel investors. You still look around and you still find lots of businesses that will say, I can do that too. And at that point, from the investor's standpoint, from their perspective, you as the entrepreneur, you all look alike. You've become a commodity. There's really no discernible difference between one investment opportunity and the next. This business is out doing lumber conversion into furniture. They offer me 10% interest or 10% rate of return on my money. Well, this one over here is working with nanotechnology and they're offering me 10% return on my money. Well, this one over here is engaged in cryptocurrency and they're offering me 10% on my money. So from the standpoint of the investor, you as the entrepreneur have become a commodity. You are really, from their standpoint, putting their own money to work and getting money back on their money over time, there's no difference between you and anybody else that is out there also looking for money at the same time. And that makes it even harder for an investor who may have little or no criteria, who may have no particular focus on where they want to put their money to work in making a decision, because you all look alike. And that's a terrible position to be in. And this is a basics of marketing that we talk about, that if you are selling a product into the market today, and there is no way for you to differentiate your product or your service from any of your competitors, your customers and prospective customers have a difficult time making a decision. And if they decide that you're selling candy bars and there are 40 other candy bars, or you're selling a new sports drink and there's over 400 sports drinks available, they'll choose one and feel content that they've made a selection and they're good and they're done. And if that wasn't your product or service that you were selling, then you did not make a sale. Well, you have to look at your business the same way. Your business is viewed by the investors as a product. It has certain feature sets, certain functions, capabilities. And as you are structuring your offering, making up a deal for investors to consider, invariably, you're making up something that is generic. It's a one size fits all. You say, well, I don't want to write my offering so narrowly that people will turn it down. They won't give me money. And this is based upon a supposition that they care to begin with. So you're worried about people turning you down who never were going to invest anyway. That's a loss of time and a little bit of brain damage going on at that point. So what we got into is we started asking the question, well, who cares more? Why would they care more? And started realizing that there are people out there who will benefit from the success of your organization. And part of my thinking in going down this path was looking at the concept of impact investing or social investing, which I've been working with for now, I think, a decade and a half or 2 decades. And in that case, we're saying we're looking at issues like people who want something other than money to come out of your success, or it may be money that comes out of your success, but they have a different reason other than a simple return on investment for wanting you to succeed, caring about your success. And because they have this extra benefit that comes out of your success, it changes the entire nature of their decision to make an investment. They may be looking at the amount of money they'll get back every year from their investment, but what's really driving their investment decision are these other benefits that come from your success without their ever having to make an investment. Before they make an investment, they stand to be the winners in this game if you are a winner in the operation of your particular business. And so from a marketing standpoint, if you're looking at 2 investor candidates and one is only going to benefit in the terms of a return on the investment, and the other one will not only get that same return on investment, but they also get all these other benefits that are attained from your success, then you as a marketing person, as a salesperson, implementing very basic concepts of marketing goes, well, the lowest hanging fruit that is out there for obtaining an investment would be somebody who gets multiple benefits from making the investment over someone who only gets a singular benefit. And if I'm going to go out and spend my very precious time and money out raising capital, it only makes logical sense then to go out and talk to those who are most likely to invest, and those are the ones who get the greatest benefit. And that's where the title to this podcast and to my boot camp and a lot of the publication is about. It's called Motivated Money. People who are investors are acting in their own self-interest in order to improve their situation And they realize that if they invest in a particular business where they stand to gain these additional benefits in addition to a return on their investment, that's actually good for them. And it gives them a reason and a rationale for making a decision. It gives them a basis for differentiating your company from all the other companies that are also clamoring for their investment dollars. And so from a marketing standpoint, you're saying, well, if these people have the greatest motivation, they have the greatest incentive to put their money to work by giving it to me, maybe I should start my capital campaign talking to those people about what they want and how it benefits them, rather than making these shotgun, generic, one size fits all offerings to anyone who walks around who's got a checkbook. So this common approach to raising money is simply it works. It happens all the time. But if you look at the statistics on it, they're frighteningly bad. Almost every angel group out there who publishes statistics on the investments by their group or out of their investment fund are investing in only 1 to 2% of all the different deals and opportunities they look at. And I, as an entrepreneur, when I'm out raising money, I would like to have my batting average closer to that of a Major League Baseball player, like 1 in 3 times at bat instead of 2 in 100. And so I started looking into this and thinking about how do I work with these stakeholders? What do I do? And I found that it actually there are several different ways of measuring benefits that people get. Some are monetary, some are non-monetary, some are direct, and some are indirect. And understanding and getting to learn indirect non-monetary benefits is an open item of discussion that comes up in every impact investment or social investment conversation, because they're saying, how do I know I'm getting what I wanted? When it's not really clear what I wanted, or it's hard to quantify or qualify what I wanted as an investor. But generally, if they get a feel for what you're doing, they'll feel comfortable that you're at least working in the right direction. But it's always important for you as an entrepreneur to try to come up with some hard outcomes, measurable, quantifiable outcomes, where everybody can agree that you've been successful, you've crossed the goal line, you've accomplished your mission, and at the same time, you're helping your investor accomplish their mission. So, in looking at that, you want to start your capital campaign. The very first step in putting together your campaign plan and thinking through your strategy of who you're going to ask for money or for any other form of capital is to say, who are my investor candidates? And within that, there's a subset of investor candidates you can call stakeholders. And so I use the term stakeholders throughout my podcast. You're going to see this all the time, and you're going to say, well, okay, he just used that term, and he's putting great emphasis on it, and that's correct. I am. I want you to fully understand that when you're talking to a potential investor candidate, one of the first things you want to do is to determine if they are a stakeholder. And if they are, then that becomes the topic of your conversation. The conversation really should not be about you. Too often, again, a common failing of entrepreneurs in raising capital is all they do is talk about themselves. And even though they need to share information, they need to tell their story. The story is all too often all about me. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And even though there is some merit to a person being proud of what they're doing, a person who is a major advocate for what they're trying to accomplish with their company, when you're talking to an investor, you want to be talking about the investor, not about yourself. And you want to be talking about under the motivated money approach, where they're a stakeholder, you want to be talking about the benefits that they're going to get out of the investment into your company. So think again, go back to basic marketing. When you go to sell your product or service, you'll see some people saying, well, we're the best and we're this and we're that. But it doesn't really get down to the characteristics or the features or functions of their product or service, or they focus so much on the functions that they don't get to the outcome of using this particular product. So if whether you're selling soap or you're selling cars, the prospective customer wants to learn about what's in it for them. How does this help them? How do they benefit from the use or consumption of this product or service? And you need to do the same thing when you're pitching your company. You need to be talking to the person about them, how an investment in your company is going to give them the things they're looking for. And because you've zeroed in on those things outside of the ROI, where you can differentiate yourself and you can make yourself unique and possibly novel to them, where you're the only one who can meet all of their requirements, who can meet all of their needs, then in that case, you have something to talk about. And because you're talking with the investor about the investor, they tend to join in on that conversation rather enthusiastically because they enjoy talking about themselves as much as you enjoy talking about yourself. And this becomes, the basis for the motivated money approach. Now, then the next question, people go, okay, now I get where you're coming from. We've got everybody in the world who has money in their pocket is an investor candidate, and I don't have time to talk to everybody in the world who has money in their pocket. I want to talk to those who have money in their pocket and who care about me so much that they're a high probability of giving me that. And we've identified this group as stakeholders because they get these benefits. Well, who commonly would be a stakeholder? And we have several groups. We have people who are in your supply chain, any supplier or vendor who sells you something. And the reason why they're motivated to help you is if they sell you services, they make money. And then if you grow your company and you buy more services from them, they make more money. It's no more complicated than that. If you're in a small community and you've hired 5 people and these people are all paying taxes and you're paying taxes to the local government, then the local government benefits when you double your staff and you move from 5 to 10 employees, and now you're paying twice as many taxes as you did before. And so that community is thinking to itself, wow, I want this business to be happy. I want them to stay in my community. I want them to succeed. And this may make available a variety of economic development grants or loans or other programs that are there to help you as a business build and scale. And so they become a stakeholder at that point. If you're reselling your product into a retail store or through a wholesaler distributor, every time they sell your product, they make a little extra money. That's what they're in business to do. And if your product is successful, meaning that more customers are buying your product through them, they're making more money. So these are all monetary benefits that are clear stakeholders. And then we get into some things that are a little less obvious along this path. So let's talk about your customers. If your customers buy your product and they realize the benefit of this product, it makes them feel better, it gets them up in the morning, it makes them on time, any number of features or characteristics that your products or services may have, well, then they're a happier camper. They like your product. They're going to become a repeat customer. And that's all well and good, but you want them to tell everybody that they know so they also will buy your product or service, and you can grow your business in that fashion. So you may find out that customers are a source of investment. This is what investment crowdfunding regulation CF and state level crowdfunding is all about, is reaching out to non-accredited investors who commonly buy your product or service, and not only having them act as a customer, but they also put on the hat of an investor. And then if properly managed, they will also become an advocate for your company and wear 3 hats, the trifecta of a customer who's an investor and also helping sell your products and services. So we have all these different things, and you will see through the podcast in the future that we're talking to different businesses, and we're talking with them because they have different stakeholders based upon who they are and what they're doing. And all this is very important to determine who a stakeholder is. And I throw out for you an example. Many of you may have seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life with George Bailey, where with Jimmy Stewart playing the role of George Bailey. And he's an entrepreneur, and he gets depressed. He gets frustrated because things aren't going well. And he's depending upon some of his staff, who's not the best staff in the world. And he's thinking about ending his life. And an angel appears and says, "Wait a minute, you're having a much greater impact on everybody around you." And he goes back and shows them all these flashbacks where he saved somebody's life, he helped somebody over here, he did all these wonderful things, a wonderful life. And all these people were positively impacted by the existence of his business and what he accomplished within his small community. Well, you're having that same kind of impact as an entrepreneur. Every day when you get up and do something, you're making a difference in the world. Sometimes it seems so small, it's immeasurable, but nonetheless you are. And cumulative over time, you're going to do more. And so when you're saying, well, who's a stakeholder? Step back, put on your hat and say, well, what if I'm George Bailey and I'm working in my community? Who all's being benefited by my business? You go through the same exercise. So what you're going to see is that in all these other podcasts that we're going to talk about stakeholders, because it's very, very important from a strategic implementation of your capital campaign plan. Because if I know who my stakeholders are and I know what benefits they're going to derive from the success of my organization, then I can speak to that. I can actually structure deals. I can have multiple offerings of styled and customized and tailored to different groups of stakeholders, which all speak to them, which amplify the benefits to them. And that just strengthens the likelihood that they're going to make the investment decision and give you the resources that you're looking for. And this follows through the entire process. So knowing who a stakeholder is and why they care, then I make the offering match to that. I then make my promotional documents, do a good job of explaining my offer and emphasizing the benefits. And I will then make my pitch where I'm talking to the investor candidate from the perspective of the investor candidate about why this is good for them and how they benefit from making the investment. And having the motivated money approach, I may have 2, 3, 4, or even as many as 10 different types of stakeholders, all who benefit so greatly that they find it, they can make an investment into your company, and this is going to get them where they want to go. And they have made the decision to invest in you instead of the other thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other opportunities, because you have zeroed in on them, about them, with things they care about. And you're able to communicate that effectively to them by shaping all of your documents in your capital campaign to really precisely target them, about them, for them. And this changes the entire manner of raising capital. Instead of talking to anybody who goes down the street who might have money in their pocket, and creating an offering that is so generic that it's supposed to fit everybody and benefit everybody with a simple single type of benefit of ROI, you're going to get more sophisticated. You're going to get more complicated. There's no doubt about it. And you're only going to raise money from a smaller set of investor candidates. But as I advise my clients and myself from time to time, I don't need to raise money from everybody. I just need to raise enough money from certain people to attain my capital goals in my capital campaigns. If I could raise all my money from one person, then I'm a happy camper. I'm going to go for that. If I have to go out and talk to 10,000 people and it gets me to my campaign goal, that's more work. It's more time. It's more expensive. But I still attain my goal. And as hard as that sounds, as complicated as that sounds, that's better than not attaining my capital goal. And that's what I'm all about. And that's what I'm trying to help everybody who's listening to this podcast understand is there are ways to do this better. There are ways that are simpler. There are ways that will shorten the amount of time that go into your capital campaign. And this is what this podcast is all about. In future podcasts, we're going to talk about tips and techniques. We'll talk about different types of capital, different sources, different approaches to raising capital. There are many, many topics here to share with you, and different opportunities for you to learn about how different people have gone about raising capital, how they became creative and they overcame this seemingly impossible burden of raising money. And so that's what we're going to talk about in the future. So I leave with you guys who want to do homework, who like to take something away from each of my podcasts. Go home, become George Bailey. Ask yourself, who benefits from the success of your business? If the sale of your product is good for these people, or the sale of your service is good for these other people, why is that? How would you quantify that? And we'll get into this in other podcasts, but start creating this list of people, because this is the starting point for your capital campaign. This is how you're going to tailor and structure your capital campaign to be the most efficient, the most effective capital campaign you can do. And it gives you focus. It makes everything so much easier. It's a tremendous change in thinking as you move from one size fits all, anybody with money, to people who are getting these extra benefits out of the success of your organization. And so finally, I let everybody know that I do put on a boot camp 4 times a year. It's a 10-week, 20-hour boot camp where I teach entrepreneurs how to raise capital using the motivated money approach. And the next boot camp is coming up on January the 18th of 2023. And if anybody is interested in learning more about attending this boot camp, you can go to my website, http motivated.money, and that will share with you information on your option of becoming an attendee in one of my upcoming boot camps. So with that, thank you again for sitting through today with just me, without an entrepreneur as a guest. And hopefully you take away from this a better understanding of what the motivated money approach is about. You can see that it is a paradigm shift away from the way people commonly raise money. And it has so many other benefits to you. First and foremost is a higher probability of raising your money. But if you can shorten your capital campaign down to weeks instead of months, if you can reduce the cost of raising capital to a smaller dollar amount and saving that money for running your business, all of these are going to benefit you, and it's going to help you build and scale your business the way you want. So thank you again for today. This is Carl Dakin with the Motivated Money Podcast.
Thank you for listening in to Motivated Money. If you like this or any other episodes, make sure to leave a rating and review of the show. We love to hear your feedback and want to make this the best possible show for you. Also, if you like this episode, make sure you share it with someone you know who is seeking to raise capital. They will appreciate learning what you now know about raising funding. I'll see you on the next episode of Motivated Money.